comment. Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items shall be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during a council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. Please come to the podium and state your name and address. Online comments should be accepted after in-person comments are completed. All comments should be directed to council and not to the audience. The only exception to tonight is we have a public hearing on the creation of the corridor improvement authority. There's public comments on that, and then we are taking public comments on the second reading of the zoning ordinance, specifically to DPI. We'll take any comments.
Mayor Johnson, Councilmember Kane arrived and is now able to vote on a future motion.
Sorry, you wanted me to be an all. Sometimes things happen. Hello, Laurel Nowak. I live at 133 Fair Avenue here in Alpena, our beautiful city. And thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm here to announce the second annual Dignity Drive. Last year, I came before council when we started the drive, and we ended up having an excellent turnout for boys and girls in our area, for homeless and underserved children. So the donations that we get go to the high school, school success worker, the junior high school success worker, and the Northern Michigan Foster Care Closet, which I have made contact with all three, and they're very excited and glad that we're doing this again this year because it was very helpful to them and the families that they serve. Donations can be dropped off today, December 2nd through February 7th at Star Staffing, and that address is 537 West Chisholm, Suite 100, and that's Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And just as a quick eye opener, in the state of Michigan, 22-23 school year, there was 32,000 homeless students at some point during that year. So anything that you can donate, feminine hygiene products, shampoo, conditioner, soap, any kind of hygiene products for boys and girls would be greatly appreciated. And if you have, if you want to get bags, they'll accept those as well. Really anything would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you please repeat the address one more time?
Yes, I'd be happy to. 537 West Chisholm Street here in Alpena. And you can set too. That's okay. December 2nd through February 7th. You're welcome. Any other questions?
No.
Oh, thank you for letting me speak.
It's our pleasure. Anyone else in the room?
Well, I'm here to tell you that your rules of the quorum are actually unconstitutional. I'm not legally required to identify myself or my address, just so that you're clarified on that. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. I know that you're going to have a part for DPI later on, but I'm adamantly opposed to that. Our taxes are already way too high as it is. They've already been raised twice in the last 4 years. No, absolutely not.
You're against the rezoning?
Yes. We also have another issue here. In the local police department, the Alpena City Police Department, you have a blue line flag hanging on the wall. That's actually a violation of the flag code. U.S. Title 4, Chapter 1, Section 8, subsections F and G. That's a violation of the federal statutes. It's very disrespectful to our veterans to have a blue line flag hanging on the wall. That wall is there for the people of the city, not just to respect the law enforcement. If they want to put a actual American flag up there, the actual stars and bars, by all means. Other than that, it needs to come down. If they want to fly that at their own house, by all means, that's their right. Not in a public building. The reason why I specifically state that is there's been case studies out from the United States Department of Justice, out of San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Trenton, New Jersey, Maricopa County, Arizona, and Detroit have all showed that there is law enforcement gangs with flying underneath that. It's very disrespectful to everyone involved. And let's see. So a couple years ago, y'all actually passed a ordinance allowing the city police department to take $25 from any citizen that has their vehicle impounded, regardless of what the cause is. So if I got pulled over for speeding and I got arrested for whatever, I have to pay the city police department $25 to get my vehicle back, on top of going back and paying the tow truck companies to get my vehicle back. You have companies like Jerome's that are charging cash only. City ordinance specifically states that I can pay by any payment method that they would normally accept. They're only accepting cash for tow vehicles, just so that y'all know. That's a violation of the city ordinance. So in 2023, the city collected almost $3,600, and we're a little over $3,000 so far this year that have been collected, and that money actually goes to the general fund. It doesn't actually go to any public safety measure, no preventative measures, no anything. It doesn't go to anything other than just putting money in the city's pocket. Does anybody have a reasoning for that?
Well, money that's in the general fund goes into our budget and has line items, and the police department would be one of those line items.
I understand that, but that measure should be for public safety or public services or something like that. It should specifically earmarked for that, not just to go into the general slush fund for the city. That's actually all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Okay, thank you.
Just share my screen. Hearing okay?
Looks good. Yes.
Great. So we mentioned that's not Michael Cullen, been a consultant with the city and City Brownfield Authority for some time, long time, actually. And this project came forward as an opportunity for redevelopment as part of the city project for the Gardens of Alpena. So as part of the establishment of Corridor Improvement Authority, a public hearing is required. Today is the public hearing. I'm just going to run through some of the basics of the Corridor Improvement Authority. No action is necessary tonight. We'll be reviewing all of the opportunities, and then in not less than 60 days, presenting a resolution to the City Commission for consideration to establish the Corridor Improvement Authority and District. So, just want to provide kind of a brief summary of the overall situation, talk a little bit about Corridor Improvement Authorities, the district itself, and a development plan and tax increment financing plan that provides the opportunity for redevelopment. We'll also be discussing the process that we're going to be, that is proposed to establish the authority, the district, and the development in. So kind of in summary, the Gardens of Alpena has a purchase agreement for about 10 acres of property along US 23 North for the development of an independent living and assisted living memory care senior facility with an estimated investment of over $47 million. Because of increased construction costs and interest rates, it presents a significant financial challenge, and really the project cannot proceed without some level of community financial support, in this case in the form of property tax relief. So the expenses are just too high, the project would not be able to move forward without the support that we're discussing tonight. In order to provide that support, a Corridor Improvement Authority is proposed that to be established that would provide for the capture of the increased incremental taxes generated by the project, again, that would not proceed without this support, to reimburse expenses that are included in the development plan and tax increment financing plan. And the public hearing is to seek input on the establishment of this authority. Is our activity tonight. So the corridor improvement authority, the city council can establish a corridor improvement authority in district after an extensive public and notification process. Along after that plan is after the authority is established and the district is established, a development plan and a tax and financing plan is approved by the authority and the city council, which details all the development activities and the estimated tax capture and reimbursement. And then a development agreement is also executed between the Gardens of Alpena and the authority that outlines roles and responsibilities for that development. The corridor improvement district as proposed is mostly public property that's east of US 23 and south of Hamilton Road in the northern portion of the city. And it does include Alpena Community College and Alpena Public Schools property. I believe in your packet, this is the proposed district. Again, predominantly city property, Alpena Public Schools, and the Alpena Community College. And development activities in the tax capture are going to be limited to the Gardens of Alpena property. There's a reason that we had to establish additional property owners within the area. 3 of the members of the corridor improvement district have to be property owners within the district, and so we had to expand this beyond just the city property in order to meet the statute guidelines. But all of the activities that we're going to be talking about, all the tax capture that we'll be talking about, will be limited to that Gardens of Alpena property. So once the district is established and the corridor improvement is established, the development plan and tax increment financing plan are developed. The development plan describes the district, outlines the proposed improvements and costs, and outlines any arrangements that are made and the process which goes forward. The tax increment financing plan, which is a companion document, details the tax capture procedure and how long the capture is proposed, estimates the impact of that tax increment financing, and states the portion of the tip capture, in this case, again, will be just for the Gardens of Alpena project. The development agreement that I mentioned earlier is executed between the Gardens of Alpena and the Corridor Improvement Authority. It lays out the responsibilities, the financial arrangements, the reimbursement procedures, and provides authority protections for the project. And in essence, although it'll probably take 15 pages to say this, that if the Gardens of Alpena builds the facility and generates additional taxes, the authority will capture those increased taxes to cover a portion of the development cost to be able to provide for a financially feasible project. And again, reimbursement is only limited to the tax capture generated by the Gardens of Alpena. So there's no obligation, no financial obligation on the part of the city or the Corridor Improvement Authority for this. It only relates to what is generated by the Gardens of Alpena. The City Council did pass the resolution of intent on October 21st, and notices perplexing jurisdictions were sent out November 8th. We're having the public hearing tonight, and then again, there's a 60-day period, 60-day waiting period. In essence, not less than 60 days that you can establish with the authorities and schedule that we decide to proceed on February 3rd. Then that development plan and TIP plan will be presented to the Corridor Improvement Authority City Council at your first meeting in March, along with the development and reimbursement. That concludes a brief summary of Corridor Improvement Authority. I'm happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you. So, with that being said, I'm going to open it to public comment. So if anyone has anything to say about this particular subject, you can come to the podium and tell us. Anyone online? So I'm going to close the public comment, then written request received, Anna. Not received. Not received. So I'm going to close the public hearing, and does council have any questions, discussion? Anything concludes our public hearing. Mac, thank you.
My pleasure. We'll talk soon.
To the consent agenda. Bills to be allowed in the amount of $1,669,589.78 Approval of the cemetery deed number 0314 by and between the city of Alpena and 10 Jenny Lawn in the amount of $0 for lot 27, lot 61 for the use and purpose of a burial lot with perpetual care and authorize Mayor Johnson and clerk Slade to sign said deed. The amount is zero because this was a sale between the previous owner and the purchaser. The city is not the seller. C, approval of the cemetery deed number 0315 by and between the city of Alpena and Frida Yanes in the amount of $750 for block 40, lot 63 for the use and purpose of a burial lot with perpetual care and authorize Mayor Johnson and clerk Sword to sign said deed. D, approval of cemetery deed number 0316 by and between the city of Alpena and Susan Markworth in the amount of $750 for block 41, lot 201 for the use and purpose of a burial lot with perpetual care and authorize Mayor Johnson and clerk Sword to sign said deed. E, approval of the Memorial Day Parade, the 4th of July Parade, and the Christmas Parade held within the city limits in 2025. F, authorize Mayor Johnson to sign the winter 2024 tax roll supervisor's warrant, which is the authority to collect the taxes, make the necessary distributions of taxes, and do what is necessary to enforce collection of taxes as specified in the General Property Tax Act, number 206, Public Act 1893. G, council reappointment of Nick Lee to the Recreation Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring on December 1st, 2027.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second. Councilmember King? Aye. Councilmember Mitchell?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Noah?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolchek?
Aye.
And Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Our two presentations that we have are Human Resource Director.
Nothing heavy today. So our program has been going for just over a year, and we would like to say it's extremely successful. We've had nominees from each department, each building. We've had department heads, we've had union employees, we've had administrative employees, we've had just everybody being recognized because we have such a great team. And they are selected on positive working relationships, upbeat attitude. They rally around the vision and values of the city. They're dedicated to work ethic, proven methods of improving efficiency in the workplace, exceptional commitment to projects, tasks, and going above and beyond for their position. They're team players and they're enthusiastic. Staff can be nominated by coworkers, council members, or community members. Nominations are passed to committee members to evaluate. This quarter, the selection committee was Danny Mitchell, Council Member Carol Walchek, Council Member Danny Mitchell, Council Member Carol Walchek, City Manager Rachel Smolinski, and then, just to complicate things, we had a 3-way tie. And I called or emailed Mike Nowak and said, hey, help us out, Mayor Pro Tem. And he did. And luckily, we have someone that emerged. So the most recent nominees were DPW Division Head Shannon Smolinski, Deputy Clerk Treasurer Finance Director Leland Brooming, and Detective Sergeant William Gold. And I am thrilled to announce, can you see here? That this quarter, the nominee, or the winner was Detective Sergeant William Cole. And he is going. We told him we were gonna do this, and then we said we were kidding, but Rachel liked the idea, so I did it.
If we would've had time, we would've made them.
Everybody, everybody and taking a picture for him. But anyway, now to present the summary of his accomplishments is Police Chief, whoever you are, Eric Camp. I'm gonna leave that with you. You can have Bill. Yeah, you like that, don't you?
No, it's actually kind of fitting because it was short notice, he took an overtime shift today from 2 to 10, so they're on calls right now.
See, that's why she's doing it.
It's quite fitting, as you can imagine, that he's working, so. Bill began his employment with the police department in August of 2000. As a young officer, Bill took on the role of field training officer. He has trained many new officers. He was promoted to sergeant in July of 2013. Since that time, Bill has been the supervisor of the field training program. He essentially reroute the entire program. Through his efforts, Bill now provides the training to new field training officers within the department. This has saved the city money and time by keeping the training in-house. Coordination of new hires is a large undertaking, and we all know we have been very busy with new hires. Bill sits on the administrative interview panel who reviews applications and interviews potential employees. His opinion is highly valued. He also coordinates the peer board interview panel. He completes a comprehensive background investigation on every candidate who is offered a conditional offer of employment. In July of 2022, Bill earned the assignment as Detective Sergeant. He oversees all major crimes within the department. Due to staffing difficulties, Bill has been a one-man show as our own detective. He handles a lot of very difficult cases. Even though I know he is likely overwhelmed at times, you would never know this. He handles his duties with professionalism and remains calm regardless of the situation he is faced with. He is always willing to help anyone in the department. He is looked up to by many of the officers and provides sound guidance and support to our staff. He serves as my second in command, and he does so without hesitation. Bill is trusted in any capacity he is needed, and he is well respected by both city staff and the community he serves. Those of us who know Bill knows he is very humble. He likely leads the department in recognizing employees with what we call city shout-outs. He rarely turns his own recognition slips in, as he would rather see another employee be rewarded for their efforts. His efforts have led to other employees consistently recognizing each other for their work. Bill is also the first to organize team events with staff. Whether it be a staff luncheon or organizing a team for a community event, he always works to keep our bonds strong and support our community. He is giving, he's thoughtful, and he truly cares about our staff and the community. I'm also thankful for Bill's leadership as a union president. I believe in working together with the union to understand each other's perspectives to work toward a successful resolution. Bill is reasonable, and his knowledge of various aspects of the department is beneficial when discussing important union matters. Bill also represents the police department on the retirement board. I know he is a valuable member and represents the department well. He has an extensive knowledge of the community, including the residents and geography. He somehow seems to know everyone, and he rarely forgets about interactions with the public. He is also very well connected professionally. Lastly, Bill has always set the bar high with his work ethic. When he was on road patrol, he consistently led the department in complaints investigated. Frankly, he is a workaholic. Kind of ironic that he's working right now.
No, he's not.
He's just walking in. There Come on in, Bill. He rarely turns down a shift of overtime regardless of the time of day or night. While his roles have changed, his work ethic has not. He truly leads by example. Bill never wants a spotlight on him, but rather on members of the department. He is a true selfless servant. So the timing is perfect. Come on up, Bill.
You tend to know everybody because when you're from Alpena, you're related to them. Thank you.
And he makes a mean charcuterie board.
Yes, he does.
Would you like to take a picture with Bill too? Just one more picture.
I knew it was coming.
We have right last time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, please.
Oh, okay.
He was our tiebreaker.
I told people that we just pulled names out of hats.
Oh, okay, we did that too.
Not true. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was actually rock, paper, scissors.
That's. Thank you very much.
we have the second reading of the zoning ordinance repeal and replace, and I'm going to turn it over to the law.
Well, consistent with council policy, this would not be read, unless one of the members requested it to be read, but it is 363 pages, so I'm assuming nobody wants it read. Council already decided to take public comment, during second reading, so I think we should just go into public comment and go from there.
Okay, so I'm gonna open it up for public comment, so if there's anyone out there that wants to comment, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and we'll listen to you.
We'll go through for South Street.
Time's up.
Mayor, council, I've been watching this a little bit, over the course of the last couple weeks, and really, I thought about it today, and there was a time where I had wished that I was back, sitting in your seat, it would be now for this. This is the kind of thing that always excited me, because this is a vision for what we want Alpena to be 10, 15, and 20 years from now. Back in 70 years ago, there was a necessity for heavy industry to be on our waterfront. Today, not so much. You could drive through Alpena, and it's not just a DPI property, you could drive through Alpena and list off probably 10 to 15 different things that you would like, why did somebody decide to put that on the waterfront? Fairgrounds, things like that. And so, over the past, we've talked to the county about the fairgrounds, we've talked to, different avenues as far as, what would benefit Alpena. And rezoning, the DPI property would be, what I would call a vision for what we want Alpena to be in 20 years from now and beyond. I don't get into the legalities of whether that, has an issue with their, upcoming auction. That's for you and Bill to discuss whether that makes a difference. If absolutely nothing else, then wait and plan on making the decision in January based on how their auction goes and who buys it. But when we talk about a vision and what we could do to better Alpena for the future, taking that property off of the industrial list would be paramount. Something to consider would be the resident that was up here as far as the north side and their taxes. Does waterfront, does that property being on the waterfront change their taxes any more than people that live a block away from inland from the Shakiras? I don't think so, but I'm a bit out of that whole assessing domain as well. So, those are things that in the event that you do change it, it would be, those are questions that should be answered to those residents so they know and they don't worry. Because right now, what I'm hearing is the complete opposite of what I heard for the last 5 years. And that is, make a change, don't open anything there. I think those residents deserve it. I think they deserve that, for their property to be something waterfront, rather than heavy industry as the way it is right now. So I'm promoting that, and that's just my personal aspect. But good luck in your decision, and thank you.
It's good to see you.
Good evening. Will McConnell, 108 West Park Street. I spoke at your last meeting. Try not to repeat myself too much, but I do not feel it's necessary to change the zoning of my property. I would like you to really reconsider this zoning change that's been put forward. My property is adjacent to the business district, and I have been running a business out of that address for 35 years now. My wife is doing the bookkeeping, the billing, accounts receivable, payable out of that address. for probably the last 15 years for my son's business. I feel we have a legitimate reason to leave it as it is. I really don't see the reason to change something just for the arbitrary reason of changing it. I haven't heard any valid reason for the change. Please don't change it. That would be the short of my request today. Thank you.
Kevin Gunter, not 390 South Lawn, but 114 East Wisner. I spoke a couple of times about something that I saw as a need in the numerous city council and planning commission meetings that I've attended, and I saw a need probably isn't hugely valuable, as I didn't hear a lot of people that could take advantage of this. But I saw this, these duplexes that were duplexes and single family and then back to duplexes, and that being a financial hardship to the people trying to convert them back to duplexes, where the requirement was, just because it switched from a private owner to a rental, required two, if I have this right, two paved parking spots for each unit in that building. And I spoke a couple of times and made a comment on Facebook that I inferred that the City Council and Planning Commission could do more. And my reference was really to this topic, where this is something I think, and maybe the wheels of government don't really work like this, but I saw this need, I saw the need could be changed like this if it was important enough to change. The impact to the housing shortage probably wasn't that great, but I saw a need, I saw a financial hardship where maybe other people would consider not making these conversions because the cost of the pavement would be against turning that into a rental property. So then you've, instead of encouraging creating more rental properties, not quite like the earlier presentation or the announcement that was made a few weeks ago about even bigger projects in the city. But these are small scale changes that I think could be made probably in one or two city council and planning commission meetings. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Clendenin. I'm the president of Decorative Panels International, representing our corporate office in Toledo, Ohio. And I'll be brief. In November, the planning committee decided to remove DPI from the rezoning, keeping it as an industrial property. Tonight is the second reading, and just respectfully asking that you follow what the planning committee has put forward and keep this site as an industrial site. The auction is 14 days away. It's causing a great deal of angst and disengagement, and I would just like you to follow through and keep us as an industrial site.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Mayo. My address is 124 West Grant Street. And I don't really even know where to begin with the whole DPI thing. I guess I could start with, this was actually the first summer living over there that I was able to open my windows. That stench was just unreal, living in the shadow of that factory. Personally, I know quite a few of you might disagree, but I'd rather see that site bulldozed. I do not want that factory there. Sorry for the crass, blunt comments, but please, for the love of God, don't reopen that.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Scott Venus, I'm an attorney, I'm here on behalf of DPI. I've been quoted in the
local media a couple of times now for threatening the city with litigation. I haven't done that. If that's been your interpretation of what I've said at this podium, I'm happy to address that, but that's not DPI's intention. I'm here tonight to, again, encourage you not to rezone the property. It might be that as a result of a planning process, where the community and the government and the property owner can engage in a meaningful process, it might be that DPI or a future owner agrees with this idea to rezone the property. But what you don't have now is that process. What you've got is the result of what should be a process, the conclusion, which is to come to a point where you know that this ought to be rezoned. It's the highest and best use of the property. You don't have that now because you've not undertaken the process. The statute requires, and your zoning ordinance requires, your old and your new zoning ordinance requires you to base your rezonings on the master plan. That's what the law requires. So if you do this tonight, your master plan requires, in the future land use map, requires this property over time to remain heavy industrial. That's what it's planned for. That's what you folks, that's your vision. I believe that's your former mayor that got up and invited you to take advantage of this vision, a 10 or 20 or 25-year vision of the property. And this is this great opportunity to do something different. It's not. It's premature to do that. You really should be doing that on all of your city property. You should be doing it every 5 years, and you're due to do it now with your comprehensive plan. But you haven't done it yet. So again, we ask that you honor your comprehensive plan. Don't rezone the property. And one last point, I believe it would also be procedurally improper for you now to slide this rezone in at the second reading, because your first reading did not include the rezoning of the DPI property. You proceeded with that either without any formal reading at all, which is improper, or the reading that you proceeded with did not include the rezoning of the DPI property. So we're here to support that first reading. We're here to support what your planning commission has recommended to you, and I hope you get this done tonight. And again, in the future, DPI would be happy to engage with the city in a meaningful process to determine what land use is appropriate on that property. But that's something that takes time. It's not something that should be a knee-jerk reaction. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just 1 second and we'll get with you, okay? Good evening.
I'm against it because all you're gonna do is fuck people over there, and, that's all you're gonna do. That's all you're gonna do, is screw the people over there. Maybe we should maybe if you should start thinking more about the people, maybe we should have open season of politicians, local politicians. I'm against that, for residential, because you're gonna screw the people.
Anyone else in the room like to speak?
Bryce.
Okay, Bryce, you can go ahead.
Okay, firstly, I agree with Jimmy Mayo and Matt Walligora. We have the right to clean air here on the north side. Like I pointed out at the last meeting, but there's 957 tax-paying properties within 1 square mile of this 88 acres. And they won't disclose what their potential buyers are. If we keep it I-2, they come in, they keep it I-2, then we're fighting an uphill battle to get it taken away from I-2. They could be a rubber plant for all we know. We're all gonna be smelling burnt rubber on the north side.
sentenced to 25 years behind bars for killing.
What's going on?
Just one sec. Okay, go ahead, Bryce. Thank you.
So yeah, we don't know what's gonna be here. I say, like Matt Wallace said, we have a chance right now. The plant shut down. They're threatening legal action. There has been a substantial change in circumstance. The plant was operating at the time of the last master plan. It has now been shut down. We have a change in circumstance. No one is working there. It's not a functioning plant. I think most of us on the north side are completely opposed to anything I-2. I think most of us would be open to anything other than I-2. If it must remain industry, I think most of us would be open to I-1. But I-2 is like, I've been up and down Ford and the north side. I would say most of us don't want to see anything I-2 ever inhabit that space again. We have a chance. The council has a chance. The future is in your hands. The future of the shoreline is in your hands at this time. Anything past this time, we're going to be fighting an uphill battle. This is the time. Daryl mentioned that to respect what the planning commission put forward. The planning commission originally planned on making that waterfront development. Like I said, most of the public would probably be open to anything but I-2, that would include I-1. But the planning commission originally had it rolled up as waterfront development. They took that specific portion off because they were threatened with legal action. They claim it wasn't a threat. Why else do you bring an attorney and say, this isn't gonna be right, you didn't have a master plan, we're gonna potentially seek litigation? How is that not threatening legal action? So, like I said, it was an operating plan at the time. The future's in your hands. Matt Walagora, Jim Mayo, and whoever else speaks on this matter, we all should have a say in what happens here. We're all taxpayers, and this is our view. So, that's all I'm gonna say. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else want to say anything before I close that portion? So, I'm closing the comment section and council can discuss. Who wants to start?
I have been thinking on the subject a lot lately, and I'd like to start. I'm not sure if I'm going to vote for the appointment or not. This might be one of the last major decisions that I make, sitting in the seat. And I understand what the residents who live on the north side are saying about BPI. But the thing is we don't know if we keep it remain, industrial too, if another factory is gonna move in that's going to make particle board. And it might purchase it and it might become an entirely different manufacturer. We don't know that, but if we rezone it, then we're absolutely guaranteeing that no manufacturing will ever exist there, and therefore no jobs will ever exist there. Also, there's this fear, I believe, that people think that, another company is gonna come in and revamp it and turn it into another DPI, but if that were the case, then DPI, I'm sure, probably would have kept the business going, as it was an existing business. They would have invested the funds they needed to do in order to bring the equipment up to speed, in order to keep the business a thriving one, and their actuaries would have determined that it is something that's feasible and viable, and they would have thus kept the business going. So, with that said, I can't predict the future, but I would assume that no one is going to sweep in and dump all that money to bring up to speed to then start producing particle board again. So, we're left now with this vacant, or this old factory on this lot. And what's gonna happen? Who's gonna sweep, who's gonna come in and pay to tear it down and clean up all the contamination? They're just reporting PFAS, contamination in the soil. So, I think it's premature for us to vote to rezone this for those reasons. I think we need to wait to see what happens with the auction. And if there is somebody who wants to invest millions and millions of dollars to tear it down and clean it up and build condos, I think that would be an excellent thing to do. Or turn it into beachfront. But then again, it abuts Lafarge. So people are forgetting that that's not that ideal. The property's not ideal. Who wants Lafarge in their backyard? And I just don't understand why this is being presented to our board, that we are being now tasked to just change and assert the planning commission's job. The planning commission, how long has it, 18 months? Is that right, Montiel? That,
For the whole thing.
for the whole thing, right. So here we are, we're presented with something that the planning commission vetted, and they presented to us something to vote, for us to ratify what they worked on, what they presented. And now we're just, being the 5-member board, we're just gonna assert their role and just say, nope, we're going to just designate this as waterfront. I don't feel that that's fair, and I don't think that that's how government should operate. I feel that that's too, imperious, really. So for that reason, I will be voting to keep the zoning ordinance in its entirety as presented. I feel the role of the government is, in our form, is to kind of go through the proper avenues, and the planning commission was the proper avenue, and we were presented with something that they stamped, they approved. And if anyone ever does want to sweep in and purchase the property, all they have to do is request a variance, or all we have to do is just say, hey, planning commission, you need to rezone this. And I'm sure the planning commission will gladly do that, especially if somebody wants to invest that much money in our community. But in the meantime, it's not going to impact anybody keeping that factory there right now, to see if maybe someone does sweep in and turn it into a different factory that doesn't produce an odor, that doesn't cause air pollution or noise pollution, but turns it into something else and provides jobs too for our community, which I disagree with one of the constituents saying that we don't need jobs in this community. We absolutely need jobs in this community. That's everyone, I'm a business owner.
May I add something?
I'm sorry, but, council is debating, discussing, so I can't allow you at this point to jump in. Okay?
Just as a business owner and knowing many, many business owners in the community, one thing that we all struggle with is finding people to work. So, we need to have, something that's there to hire people to economy, to boost our economy and help our city also. So, that's my opinion on it. And I've been thinking long and hard on it all weekend. I've been talking it over with friends and family, and you know, my job in this seat is to make informed, educated decisions. And I just feel it's premature. I feel that we should table it, to see what happens with it. I mean, the auction isn't until December 14th, 14 days from now. I don't know what the exact date is, but I believe it was referenced to be 14 days from now. I don't even know what's gonna happen with this property yet. So I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse, so.
I was, wondering if I could ask Montiel a question.
Yes, you can.
Concerning the rezoning maps like this. Part of the zoning map, proposed rezoning items are with the dashed lines around, correct? Okay, and so this is the proposed zoning ordinance, correct?
Yes,
There's no dotted lines around the DPI property.
correct.
So that means that there's no proposal to change that at this time, correct?
The planning commission's recommendation, as Aaron talked about, was leaving it as I-2 based on the last meeting, at the planning commission meeting, although they had originally started as waterfront district and then did change it.
And,
No, I thought.
finish your thought.
I know that they have a auction scheduled for the 16th, like this. And, I would like to at least see what happens on the 16th. We could sit there and, vote tonight if we wish to approve all of the zoning ordinance except for the DPI, itself, until we find out what's going on. It's very easy to, schedule a, rezoning of that at that time, and everything else has been taken care of. On the other hand, one of the problems that I had still was, and perceived threat from the lawyer concerning what we do or don't do concerning the zoning legislation. That just doesn't go over well with things like this. We have to make the decisions based on the best information that we have from the best of people that are in the city and all inclusive. I perceived it, whether it was an actual threat or not, I perceived it as one when I read both letters. And the first letter had it, the second letter was thanking us for reconsidering the situations like this. And then the second half of the letter put the threat back onto us again like this. And I just didn't really care for that too much. But my opinion on this is to, I would go for approving the rezoning as listed in the zoning ordinance and waiting until after the auction to find out what the disposition of the property is going to be before we rezone that property.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to hog the talking stick.
No, let's everyone have a chance, and then if you have more comments, then you can, because rules are, you had a chance, he has a chance,
Okay.
we get a chance, and then you can have another chance, but everyone needs to have a chance. So, I was at planning commission when planning commission sent this to us. Planning commission is an advisory committee that's been 11 years on the planning commission. They advise us. It's up to us when things are sent to us, whether we accept them or don't accept them. I also worked on some of the subcommittees, so it wasn't just planning commission who did that. It was staff, me, Rachel. A lot of people put input in on the community, so just so that's clear. Ultimately, we made this decision. So, that being said, I would like to collect a little bit more information on, and have a conversation even with our tax assessor and see if it's changed to waterfront, what does that do? There are a couple of people here who have concerns about that. Exactly what does that do or not do, would be a good question to have answered. We do not have to do anything tonight. We have, and until we decide, what direction we're going, I would recommend that we postpone this until January, our second meeting in January, because the first meeting is too busy. We'll have maybe 2 new people coming from, at the head of FTC. By that time, DPI will know what happened, what didn't happen, and we'll go from there. I would like to say, and Daryl, and he might disagree with this, but we had conversations about waterfront district early in the summer when this first came up, that they had closed, and we looked at it, what can we do with this? I had a conversation, at least 3 conversations with Daryl, nothing in depth about changing it to waterfront, and he didn't have an issue with that. He asked about the factory. I said the factory can remain, and if it's opened up again, making hardboard, it's grandfathered in, nothing changes. So it doesn't affect the factory as long as it's doing what it always did. If it doesn't, then we have another conversation. There are a lot of moving parts to this. I, for one, and I know that maybe some do and some don't, this is an opportunity for Alpena to look 10, 15, 20 years ahead, and what can this be, besides a factory, that causes contamination. And I know that DPI says, and I'm not gonna argue with them, that they've been good neighbors. They've been good neighbors as long as they've gotten what they want. You know, the smell, the stuff that comes out of the factory, the lawsuits that they've settled, that's not really a good neighbor. And if you go to Eagle and look at the violations that they've had, we have an opportunity to let not just the residents on the north side, but all of the residents that live in Alpena, to rethink and reimagine what that property can be. And can we say with certainty what it can be if we rezone it? No, because investors come in and decide what can be done and what cannot be done. But I am against keeping it zoned I-2. That's where is gonna happen, not gonna happen. And in my opinion, rezoning that property to waterfront is the least of the concerns of any investor who might wanna purchase that property in light of what we know now. And so, that being said,
Yeah. Well, I think I let council know last meeting where I was standing. When I look at a property, you know, when I see a factory, and I see it zoned in a certain way, I intend to keep it zoned that exact way. I would be opposed to kicking this into January, as, you know, I was elected, my term is up at the end of December, and I was elected to govern, you know, so I think that the decision and all the work that the planning commission and our planner has done has given me more than enough information on that area. I first would be the one that would be here and speak in behalf of anyone that wanted to have it rezoned to waterfront. If a new purchaser buys it and decides that they're going to put it up by condos or whatever else they want to do within a waterfront district. But I personally don't think that we should hamstring the current owner of a property when they're trying to make a sale. And what is the best opportunity to move that property and continue to generate taxes from that property and so on. At this time, reviewing that, I think the message we're sending not only to this business but to future businesses in Alpena is that we are a good business partner, and we have been, and we've done a lot. We've had an earlier decision tonight that showed that we are a good partner. But I don't want to enact anything that's going to be in the 4-11 rule either, where, you know, if you do something great, you're going to tell 4, but when we do something wrong, it's going to be telling 11 people. And I just look at this property and I see it as a factory, and I don't see any need to change that to a waterfront until a new owner is established in that property and can, you know, make that decision. So that's where I've stood. I think I presented that to council last week. It's nice to see the council like this, and I will tell you that we've always loved it because we want to represent every aspect of the area, every citizen who is here, and those who are not here, those who want to see, you know, factories in here and greater employment opportunities and so on, as well as those who are living within the area. So that's where I stand. So I appreciate your time.
I think, I don't want to see this as I-2. I'd like to see it as a WD. But that being said, I think it's vital that we have more information, more input and feedback from our public before we make any decisions. And I take to heart, Mike, that you said it is your job to govern and so on, but we're gonna have 1, maybe 2 new people on this council, and it would take them a while to get up to date on this. So maybe it would be more prudent not to make a decision and to just wait a bit, find out about property taxes. I think that's really important, the PFAS, and look at it for contamination. And I do wanna know, what does our community wanna see done with this property? We've had a few local people here tonight, both for and against. We've had some people who've written in and say they would like to see it become water district. I think if we open it up to a WD, we're opening it up for more opportunity. And we also, who's to say someone can't come back in and say, we'd like to rezone this? It really doesn't make any difference. So that is where I stand. I would like not to vote on it this evening, but rather wait, get up to speed on what's happening with, 1, taxes, PFAS, and more feedback from our community.
I do not think that we need to table this. I think that it's, if the process is not overly complicated, and Joe stated at the last council meeting, if somebody wants to come in and we want to have a planning commission rezone it to waterfront, water district, they can do that. We can do that. I think we need to get this thing passed. We have the votes. We're all apprised. Waiting for a new council member or 2 to swing the position, I don't think is the best way to go. I don't think that we need to make sure that people are up to speed for the potential new council members in January. I feel that we are all apprised, we're all knowledgeable, and I think we should vote on it today. And again, you know, the process is not overly complicated to rezone it eventually down the road. So I mirror, I believe, a little bit of hybrid of what Danny said and what Mike had stated.
May I say something to you? You know how just a few moments ago you said you thought about it for a long time. You talked to your family, you talked to your friends. And you may not believe that we have to table this, but let's just say we need more of that talking to the friends and talking to the family. And that would be an excellent reason not to make a decision right now. Because you've had that opportunity, and I think given more opportunity, this community will come forward with their thoughts.
But I think that position is taking over the reality of how uncomplicated it would be to rezone it to the water district. But doing that now, I feel that the main idea here is being overlooked, and that is that it is not overly complicated to eventually rezone this parcel of property. But I think we need to get the zoning ordinance passed as it's been presented by the planning commission. It's been vetted through the planning commission. It's been worked on for months and months and months. And then we can always, the planning commission can always try to rezone it after the fact. So that part just keeps getting overlooked. The city doesn't own this property. We're not gonna demolish DPI and turn it into sandy white beaches. I mean, that's just, we don't have that capacity. The economy will dictate what happens to this property. And I just feel it's premature for us to rezone it until we see what happens with it, and if it needs to be rezoned, we can always rezone it.
All this discussion is going on concerning predominantly the DPI property. We all agree with what's going on with the rest of the ordinance. We could pass the rest of the ordinance and come back to get the information for property taxes, to get the information for finding out about the auction and a variety of other things like this. But in the meantime, we can pass the rest of the ordinance, if you will, and get that portion out of the way. But right now, it's not going to change anything with what was on the DPI. We still have the time to get that information. So that was the reason that I took one of these alternatives. That was the middle one. And just rescheduled for a future date for coming back to the DPI property. If necessary, depending on what we find out at the auction or
So
property
the regular
tax.
auction isn't until
16th.
And our next meeting, so we are at our next meeting, won't know what happened at the auction.
I put a date down there, and it will be in February.
So it's, no matter what happens with that auction, and I'm gonna tell you, when anyone ever wants more time to find out information, to get more public input, all of those things, and I wanna find out more information, we've always been allowed that. And if, I would be disappointed if I wasn't allowed more time to find out the information on some of the things that were brought up today.
Yes, but again, those are toward the DPI properties, correct? Not the rest of the
People are
zoning.
saying, what does that do with my property taxes? If we change it to one time, it has nothing to do with DPI. It has to do with those residents and those people in those neighborhoods. So until I talk to an assessor, I don't know what that does. I don't know.
What I was getting at was the fact that our contention right now has to do with the DPI properties, whether it's sale at auction or it's taxes of properties or the people that are around the DPI properties. We can still pass the rest of the ordinance. That was one of the options that we had here. Okay, so we're not holding up the rest of the ordinance itself. We can come back and do a change to the ordinance after we wish to do, after we get the information.
Kind of exactly what I was saying, is you can always come back and change that portion of the ordinance to change it to the water district after it gets voted on, so. I don't know, some of the issues that were presented by counsel for DPI are concerning to me as well. I would want Bill to be some research on that, but, you know, my legal brain started spinning a little bit as well with the procedural, of procedures of us voting on that. I don't know. I would hate for us to do something that's not procedurally correct.
Our ordinance, current and the proposed one, we can change any zoning at any time, and it's in our ordinance, current, and it's in this one. We don't need to change our master plan. 5 years ago, did we know that DPI was going to close? No, we did not. Because if we did, we would have put something different in our master plan. Will we put something different in our master plan going forward when we redo it? Probably. We probably will. To me, that argument falls flat. It just falls flat. We rezone properties all the time in the city, all the time, whether we have a new ordinance in front of us or not. We rezone properties. We don't need to go back and say, oh gosh, what was that in our master plan? Okay. To me, that's a dead argument. So.
It wasn't an argument, Mayor Johnson, respectfully, it was just a comment about something that was presented, that I felt, you know, wanted to maybe vet it over with our legal counsel.
Another thing that maybe we can answer. Okay.
So we've had a couple of different ideas. Some had proposed postponing to get more information until February. We also have an opportunity, if we need to, we can postpone until our next meeting. We won't know what's going on with the property, so you can gather your information from either the assessor, if that's something that you're looking for as well, or if you want to seek out more public input. That would be, as I see it, a compromise. I'm not in favor of postponing it beyond that date, but that's where I could land with that. Or we can move forward with the ordinance as it is written and presented to us from our planning commission. Those are my two thoughts.
And planning commission moved it forward, and Montiel, correct me if I'm wrong, if I didn't say this, because suddenly they were there with people telling them, even Daryl, that suddenly, out of the blue, here they are, because they had gotten notice of the zoning ordinance, rewrite. But it wasn't new to Daryl. Daryl knew this information since early spring. We had the conversation. I was on those committees when Ann and everyone started talking about what could this be. So I had the conversation with Daryl. And until they got notification that it may change, we didn't hear a peep from them. So that's what planning commission was presented with that night. And we have a great planning commission. I don't know if you've been there lately, but they're absolutely fantastic. They sent it forward to us so that we could collect public comments. That's how they sent it. Because if DPI wouldn't have come, they would have sent it through as waterfront. Because that's what was in their packet and before them. Montiel, am I correct about all of that?
And we've received some public comment.
I just want to respond. Sorry, Aaron, I'm not picking on you or arguing. What I would like to say is I agree with you that, yeah, this is a simple thing. So why are we worrying about getting it all done right now? I mean, what would be the point? Until we find out some of the questions and how these gears are interlocking and where we need some oil. I think it's important to get more information, as much information as possible. And after hearing what I've heard tonight, I'm more inclined to say, let's hear more, let's find out more. We've got some compelling reasons to just hold off for a bit.
Is it holding off on the whole ordinance
Right,
or just the DPI?
Okay, and Danny, I'm understanding exactly what you're saying. So specifically, the rest of the ordinance would affect what?
The rest of the ordinance is updating the zoning, okay? What we're all talking about has to do with the DPI properties.
Mhm.
That's a portion of the ordinance, not the whole ordinance, okay? So why do we wait however long we're gonna wait for the whole ordinance to be passed? Now, granted, we don't have to pass it at all for months, but we can get the other portion of the ordinance in place and come back when we get the information and either change or not change the DPI property. Or whoever it will be back then.
And my feeling on that is just that we would be adding another level of complexity. Okay, we've gotten this or part of the ordinance out of the way. Is it not possible just leave it alone and then pass it all at once? And, I mean, I feel like knowledge is power here.
We can do anything we wish to do. in this
Yeah,
situation.
I just don't
What
wanna
I'm
add
saying
another
is that
cost.
I just didn't see the sense of holding up the whole packet for one part. That's all I know.
Right, yeah.
We have an ordinance, there's nothing on fire, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's gonna happen if we don't pass this tonight.
Right, and we do have some incoming applications that we're expecting that will, it would be nice to be able to put them under the new. So we may have to revert to the old because there were some things that changed, specifically in the supplemental regulations section. But we could run it through the old, or we could ask them to wait and see
So
if
you
they're willing to
haven't gotten
wait.
any application, you know that some are coming.
Yes, yeah.
So there's nothing that says we can't do a third reading, at our next meeting. It's me time to get information. There's no applications currently in that are affected by any of this.
I would just like to see the zoning ordinance passed, except for that portion, which is we've got a motion for it. To table or postpone that decision. I think it comes down to whether we do or don't have a motion to put forward. I mean, we have an alternative down there as well for that.
I've gathered the information, I've reviewed everything that I had, so I'm ready to move forward with what I feel is in the best interest of the entire city. So, but I also put out an alternate that said, I'm happy to postpone until the 16th of December, respectfully, so the mayor, if she wants to gather more information. But I believe that we should vote on that ordinance at that time.
Specifically, the information gathering, that, from my understanding, is only how it affects taxes, correct?
That's one of the things I want to find out.
Okay.
I could go until the 16th. Councilperson Walczak.
Is that a motion?
Okay, all right, we haven't quite made the motion. I'd like to I know you wanna see this done before you leave office, right? Is that part of this?
I am part to govern and I'm ready to govern.
You're ready to
I've
govern.
done it for 11 years and I've made decisions and I've respected decisions of others and postponed, but the 16th of December is the date that I'm willing to postpone it till. Other than that, I'm ready to vote on the proposal that we have from the planning commission.
Which is to repeal and replace any previous city of Alpena zoning ordinance in its entirety as presented.
Presented, just basically, the DPI remains the property that it is and all the other changes that the planning commission has wished
Right.
to us.
We're using the words that have a life table on the phone.
I will not use the word table.
I did write it.
Will we use the word?
So you would be all right with the alternative?
I'm all right with postponing it, the decision of this council until December 16th.
Some motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the ordinance to postpone the decision until December 16th to gather